The Chairperson of Parliament's Communications and Digital Technology Committee, Khusela Sangoni, has expressed her concern over the withdrawal. In a statement, Sangoni says the Portfolio Committee was not consulted in this regard. Sangoni says while she appreciates that the Minister has the rescinding authority, the action to withdraw the bill is ill-conceived. Cited in reports, Malatsi is quoted as saying the bill is totally flawed as it does not address the funding model of the public broadcaster and assigns too much power to the Minister in appointing board members. Sangoni has described this as trigger-happy action which serves absolutely no purpose at all but to frustrate and disrupt processes already underway. Now let's get some analysis on this and welcome Bongani Mahlangu, who's joining us now via link. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Mahlangu. Thank you so much for joining us and a warm welcome to SA Today. First of all, what's your understanding of the Communications Minister's decision to withdraw the SABC Bill? Are you at all convinced with his reasoning that the bill will give the Minister too much power in the appointment of the Broadcasters Board?
Greetings to you in studio, also greetings to the viewers at home. So in the statement by the Minister, there are two principal issues that do not necessarily go into much detail that were raised. One of those issues is the powers by the Minister, vis-a-vis or by extension, the ability of the Minister to influence the direction of the corporation, of which in a developmental state, it's something you would ordinarily expect, but it depends where in terms of the ideological standpoint where you are. So the DA does not believe that, but then the ANC believes that. And then the other issue is the funding model, or what is said not to be a sustainable funding model. So those are the two principal issues raised, but there's no necessarily substance as to what is meant or what needs to happen. And also the Minister then would have exercised his constitutional right, Rule 334, in order to withdraw before second reading. But then when you get into the specifics of it now, the issue of appointment of a board, one. So from what I read, I could have maybe read the wrong document, I don't know. But in terms of Section 13 of that document, which was the bill, Section 13 says that the President must, on the advice of National Assembly, appoint 11 non-executive members to the board. So meaning that these will be entertained by National Assembly, a recommendation of names of 14 will be given to the President, and it's actually the President that would make them the appointment, not necessarily the Minister. And then also then when you look into Section 5 of the bill, especially Section 1 and 2, because that's where the actual funding model that is being contested is raised, where it speaks about that subsection of Section 5, subsection 1 and 2, where it speaks about money from advertisements, subscription, sponsorships, and so forth. So the Minister also has not said what exactly from that section is problematic and how the Minister then plans to then mitigate against those problems. However, I do agree with the Minister that saying that the 3-year issue does cause a certain delay because the SABC has problems now. So with regards to the timeframes, I agree with that principle. But then with regards to subsection 1, 2, or 5, the Minister must explain what exactly is problematic there and how the Minister plans to then resolve it. Then we go now to the other contention, which is the role of the Minister. That's Section 6, subsection 2 and 3 of Section 6. So then you'll find that subsection 2 says that the Minister may add to the functions of the corporation in the additional function consistent with the Charter. So whatever the functions that the Minister chooses to add, there must be level of consistency. But then when you read the statement, it talks about influencing content, free speech, and so forth and so on. But when you go and the actual document, it still gives power to the SABC with regards to the certain freedoms that are espoused in the constitution of this country, so that the Minister cannot take away. And then when you look at subsection 3 of the subsection 6, it says that the Minister may not give a direction to the corporation or any of its members, subsidiaries, or employees for any reason relating to broadcasting, selecting, commissioning, or producing particular content. So with the actual core business of the entity, the Minister does not have, or he does not propose any powers given or provisions given to the Minister to influence content. That's why I say that
to what extent then do you think, to what extent do you think or feel that the Minister's decision to withdraw this particular bill will safeguard the editorial independence of the public broadcaster? And what are some of the sections of the bill that you feel will sort of, in a way, compromise such independence?
That's what I'm basically arguing, that when it comes to maybe contravening the independence of the entity, that would be Section 6. And the minister has not even cited one section, by the way. So minister said the entire bill is flawed and needs to be withdrawn. So it's Section 6 that would then, where the minister's powers to actually add to the functions. And that is where it is said that the minister might want to now influence in terms of the core business of the entity is being raised. So the minister has said nothing about that. And I can't speak on his behalf because I don't know what his thinking is, including Section 5, which I spoke about, where that speaks to the funding model, where the minister speaks about a credible and sustainable funding model. The minister has not been specific. So with the lack of specific detail from the minister, we can only assume and speculate that the minister is obviously, this was not a bill that was proposed by the minister vis-a-vis the Democratic Alliance. And the Democratic Alliance, now being in power and in charge of that ministry, would want to ensure that their views find expression in whatever is proposed. But then the political issue with that is, regardless of how the bill or a new bill might be drafted, it would still go to a president that comes from an ANC to enact, to sign into law.
And having said that, yeah,
so
I'm actually glad you touched on the political elements of this conversation. And am I even correct to assume that this decision to withdraw this particular bill was influenced by the ongoing political ructions between the DA and the ANC in the government of national unity? I mean, considering that Solimalatsi is a DA minister, he withdrew the bill that was tabled by his predecessor, Mondli Gugubele, and who is also an ANC member, now his deputy, arguing that it would have given him too much power.
Exactly. So if you check, I think immediately after the minister issued the statement, the DA issued their statement as a political entity, agreeing with the statement of the minister. So then you can tell that this was a political directive from the organization, and the minister is merely pushing party interests here, of which there's nothing wrong. And if they were not in a coalition, but now because they're in a coalition that is structured in a way that the president does not belong to your organization, it still means that the very same president and what was presented prior by Mondli, which was the position of the ANC, can still find expression because it's the president that must sign. Already a precedent has been created where certain parts of a bill can be suspended, like what we saw with the Bella Act. That you can actually put aside certain parts and implement others. I don't know how that works, but there's already precedence. So I am suspecting that if they do not find each other by the time that the president must sign, the same will happen.
All right.
And then this will become a precedent.
We're out of time, unfortunately, but in the past, remember that the DA hinted that the SABC must be broken up into, the various commercial entities and sold to the highest bidder. Well, this is by all means a very critical issue that has far-reaching implications, especially on the sovereignty of the country, which will address the question, does South Africa even need a public broadcaster or not? What's your thoughts on this?
That's why I said in my opening remark, when we talk about a developmental state such as South Africa, you would expect that the government will influence the direction of entities even such as the SABC, obviously not with the protections that the Constitution gives. Mm-hmm. But then what the DA wants is the principle of the DA is that government must not have state-owned enterprises. That is just the principle. And now they are expressing this principal position of theirs through the SABC because they hold the ministry, that it must be dissolved. So there's nothing new there, but we cannot have that in a developmental state because we are still trying to build, so it's nation building. And also, so you are building a nation and you are building the structures of a nation. We are not at a level where you can now dissolve certain things to the hands of private individuals to influence the narrative of the country. So the government must still influence that narrative to a limited extent, of course, and also observing constitutional provision. So the day is rushing as if we are now a developed state. We are now a Western state where now individuals then also influence the narrative like what you have in the US and so forth, which is problematic for states such as ours.
All right, Mr. Bongani Mahlangu, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your analysis with us. Bongani Mahlangu, the political analyst, and reacting to the reports that the Communications Minister Sweli Malatsi has now withdrawn the SABC Bill, well, the contentious SABC Bill and that.